Good morning and welcome to another episode of Rapidly Aging Tech. Yes, it's been a while since I've made a video, probably at least 2 weeks or so. And then after editing and whatnot, this might be a couple days later. But things happen. I do apologize. But here we are with another video. Hopefully a short one, but isn't that a tradition on this channel? Today we're going to be looking at a laptop. But we're not going to be looking at the PowerBook G4 here. We're going to be looking at der Slab. This is the NEC Versa 6230. This actually has, a bit of history in my family, and that's why I wanted to feature it. It's actually been a while since it's been turned on. Quite some time. And there's another reason why I have it here by the Apple laptop, is to show off the thickness here. I chose to compare it to the PowerBook because the PowerBook more or less is similar to, I think, modern laptop thicknesses. On the other hand, oh dear, the Versa 6230 is quite a bit thicker, probably about double, even more. So if you want to get a comparison here, here's my finger, so you can do the same thing. Your fingers might probably vary a bit, but you'll see that it is just quite a heavy laptop. So we're going to talk about this guy, sort of the family story, and all that other good stuff. Alright, so from the top, you'll see that it conforms to older logo standards, wherein the logo is when the user has the laptop closed and sitting on their lap or sitting on the table in front of them, the logo faces them. But as you can tell, since this is the hinge, if you open this up, everyone else would see the logo upside down. If we look at the Designed For sticker, you'll see it's designed for Windows NT and Windows 95. That gives us an approximate date of this particular unit. It must have been produced after Windows 95 existed, but before Windows 98 existed. On the front, we have a built-in microphone. We have a CD drive. This is a latching mechanism, but the actual little plastic bit that locks down into the base of the case has broken off some years ago. Then we have an IR sensor. On the right-hand side, we have a few blanks for one thing or another. We have a bay down here, which I will cover soon. I believe this is a Kensington lock. A very small exhaust fan. And we have a little cover here. Now this laptop dates back to the time where instead of having exposed I/O, they put little trap doors or whatnot to cover them up. If we open this up, we see we have a single USB port and a composite video out port, which is handy, I suppose. And then here we have the plug for the charging cable. Around the back, we have some more doors. So behind this guy, we have the S-Video connector, and we have the parallel connector for printer ports and whatnot. You also notice that it's black as opposed to the later standard of pink. That can help them do some dating. I believe that standard came out, was that the 1998 standard? I can't remember, but you can check it yourself. Oh, and the doors, when they come down, they can also slide back in. This monstrous cable connector is for the docking station. I do not possess the docking station, but if you had one, this is how I would have interfaced with it. And on this side we have the serial and VGA connectors. I will say that the back side looks rather sharp with these little doors. I kind of like this. If they were a bit more solid feeling, because they feel a little cheap and plasticky, I probably would like to see modern laptops do something like this. Around on the left side, we have this trapdoor, which is the PC card slot cover. It can support up to 2 PC cards, PC MCIA cards, or I suppose a fat one that overflowed into the second one. And I'll go into why this is actually important a bit later. You'll see that there is some case damage here on this case. And you probably noticed, I'm not sure how well the microphone picks it up, the thing creaks and cracks when I move it. It's just very big, but the case seems a little on the cheap side. So the girth of the unit combined with its construction makes it feel sort of flimsy. My Dell Latitude D610 feels like a very solid laptop. This could easily be a very solid laptop, but it's not. That's one of my criticisms of it. So going down on the side, we have the audio in and out. We have a microphone, it looks like a line in, line out, headphone, and the hardware volume is controlled by a little dial, which I actually like. As long as the dial is configured well, built well, so the sensitivity is neither too high nor too low, then this sort of dial I really do prefer. On the bottom, we actually have 2 little feet on the back. So if you want to have your keyboard sitting up, because that's the way you type, you just have the whole laptop propped up. So there's 2 of those. And otherwise it's little rubber feet. Here we have the detailed information on the unit. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't glare because it's kind of shiny. The official model V6235, serial number, dock ID. So the dock is for the 6220, 6230 series, and FCC stuff and whatnot. And I believe these connectors here involve the docking station as well. These little pads. And then here is something interesting. Power off the system before changing devices in the VersaBay. I'm going to talk about the VersaBay system. So I'm sorry if there's a bit of glare on this shiny label. So as you have remembered from my previous video with the parallel port data transfer, I quickly swapped out the bays in my Latitude laptop. And I think I commented how much I liked the design and how I wish, well, I'll say it now, how I wish modern laptops still had swappable bays. So you could choose between a second battery, another hard drive, an optical drive, a floppy drive, that sort of thing, into the laptop. Well, this comes from an era where that was an option that came up once in a while. So we're going to look at the NEC implementation of it. So Dell wasn't the first one to do swappable bays. Not sure if it was the first to do hot swappable bays though. Who knows? This certainly is not hot swappable because it's saying turn off the machine before you do anything. So you'll see a little switch here with an arrow pointing that way. You'll also see down in this corner here a little lock. It shows a little unlocked lock and an arrow pointing that way. So if we do this, if we take our finger here, do that, we can then eject the drive. Now my memories of this laptop, for some reason I have it with a floppy drive. And that's probably because a floppy drive could easily fit in here. So let's see, what is it actually running here? Toshiba. It's a Toshiba CD drive. A Class 1 laser product. And this gives us a indication as to the date of the computer, at least to the optical drive, of October 1997. So the laptop was probably, well, either about the same time or a little after. And it has do a plastic, kind of feels like a plastic kind of cover here to make it fit into the bay properly. And its connector, probably something on the IDE bus. This is before SATA would have existed, but custom to this laptop. Putting things back in should be fairly simple here. So the lock pushes out of the way and locked into place. Not going to complain about that. On this side, I mentioned that there's a flap here. And so this guy we're going to try to open up, and I think we're going to go that way. Oh, there we go. This is the battery. And I'll go ahead and kind of rotate it out here. This is one criticism I have for the design. It doesn't feel very secured in here, almost as if it's just kind of set in and then the cover keeps it on. This is the battery. The Li-ion battery pack. 26,000 milliamp hours, which is, I think, fairly low for modern computers. This battery is dead. Dead as a doornail. And it's been dead as a doornail for a long time. Probably dating back to at least 2006. So now we're getting into going to the story time behind this laptop. This laptop sat on the dining room table, which, okay, we have the kitchen table, which is where the kids used to eat. That's the connector to the laptop itself, where the kids used to eat. Parents used to sit in the living room. Dining room table, not really used for dining. It really hasn't had a whole lot of usage behind it. Anywho, this thing sat there, sort of for my dad to use if he needed to, but it sort of morphed into something for my younger siblings to do their schoolwork on if they needed to. And there it sat for years when I was growing up. Constantly plugged in because the battery had been dead for ages. And that's just how it went. Back then, I think the battery was getting a bit expensive to replace. Now, because you probably expect me to, based upon how my videos go, maybe upgrade the battery, find something. The only options I've been able to find have been at least $150. And they're floating more around $170, $200. If you go on eBay and try to punch in this battery model number, or just NEC, trying to get old batteries, you'll find that NEC must have gone through a number of different designs for batteries, because they'll have different connectors, they'll be different shapes, but this particular one seems incredibly difficult to find. If you find it for reasonably cheap, please contact me, because I would like to put a battery in this thing that actually works. But in the meantime, here it goes. Now we're going to take a look at the other side of the laptop here. Let's flip it around. This is the back, you can tell because of the feet. To this side, this is where the hard drive resides. So I've grabbed a screwdriver, which hopefully the right bit size. Yes, it is. This is from the iFixit kit. I can't recommend them enough. And there we go. Screw is out. So we're going to, so there's a little latch here pulled out. And here we have the hard drive. And let's see, is this thing? Yes, it is just sort of in there. So I'm going to pull that out. It's sealed in a little metal case here with a little handle to help pull it out, with an adapter to its mini IDE to something a little more easy to disconnect, which I appreciate. And this little adapter card is actually held in with metal tabs, so to get that off you need to open up the case here. So we even got a model serial number. Now the original specifications for a 6230, as far as I can tell, were about a 5 gigabyte and change hard drive. This has more of a 3 gig and change hard drive. And I think this might be a replacement to the original, or this thing was parted together between two working models, which wouldn't surprise me. My dad tended to get things that way. Nothing much else to see in here other than just the connector there. So I'll put that back. so we're almost to the point of firing it up. Anywho, this became a children's computer for the most part. And my sister is the one who worked it the most. So do that. All right, we're back in business. We'll seal it up, we'll flip it around, look at the front, and then we'll fire it up because I finally got a charger for it, which actually matches the ADP74. That's the charger model that the computer itself calls for on its stickers here. Yep, you'll see this sticker here. For use with the power supply model ADP74. So it's actually the right model, surprisingly. I'm not sure where the original went. I think my brother lost it. So this is the charger connector. You can see it's keyed a few different ways. Has a more rounded part here. Kind of odd looking for modern standards, but that's the way it works. And it sits in the side. So the charger plugs in right here. And there we go. So if we open it up, we're going to see a few things. All right, so you may have missed it, but where those two dotted lines are, they show the battery percentage, and it started with a 1 and a percent sign, showing that it was starting to charge the battery. But then it turned back to two just blank lines. That's probably because of that. That is a battery error. It knows the battery's dead. It's been dead for a long time. So there's no hope in charging it. I even left it plugged in overnight to see if it'd do anything. It doesn't hold a charge at all anymore. We'll do a quick look over the keyboard here. Pretty much a standard keyboard, just for this form factor. Nothing too surprising. It has a trackpad rather than a trackball or something else. Its sensitivity it seems to, you move a little bit and then it'll notice you, but not too bad. And there's this LCD, I think it's an LCD, panel here that'll give us some information what's going on. Got two speakers, which are actually in a good position. And you'll notice that for some reason, these are designed to pop out. Then we have the speaker exposed. Not sure what that's about, and this one's gotten loose over time. I also want to note that by opening this screen, because there's so much flex in the system now, and so much flex, you'll see it's flexing down here. This side panel actually pops open whenever you open up the lid. All right, my memory card actually ran out of space right there. Hopefully it was a fairly smooth transition. Wait, rather than a power button, it's a power slide. So we'll just slide it open. You'll see it starts firing up. You're going to see some more symbols kick up here too. Hard drive activity, and see that spout with multiple drops? That is the indicator of how much power the thing is using, whether it's performance mode or power saving mode. Power saving would be one little drop or probably nothing. And if it's not doing any power saving, then it's 3 drops. So a lot of water coming out. All right, we've already in that short time booted to the login. And you probably didn't hear the hard drive, but it's actually a bit of a noisy hard drive. So here is the login, and it's primarily just network. You know, Windows 98 is more of a network login. If you don't put the password in, you can still get in. After many years, this thing at best was last used in 2007, 2008. My dad still remembered the password.
Enter code.
173467321 Charlie 32789777 643 Tango 732 Victor 731178888 732476789764376 lock.
Security code intact for all specified inquiries and orders.
And then he changed it to something that I could just punch in here. Okay, you heard, rather than the standard log-on sound, just a little beep boop. And we're going to go over some of the things that are on this laptop and some of the alterations that were made to various features. And one of them is going to need me to take my mic off. Now don't judge my... Oh, this little warning here is about the Wi-Fi program. It couldn't start up the Wi-Fi because there's no Wi-Fi card in it. And that's because laptops of this time didn't have built-in Wi-Fi. You used a PC card slot. In case you're wondering what that looks like, it's one of these. This was in fact the original one that was used with it for years. I don't think it came originally with the laptop, but it's just the one that's been in there. It has Windows 98 drivers. And it worked for a long time. The problem with it now, so I'm not really going to feature it too much in this video. I might at the end show you how to insert PCMCIA PC card slot card into a computer. All the Wi-Fi around here, including my own, everything, neighbors, even if they're unencrypted, they're using, actually I think they're all encrypted. There's no free Wi-Fi floating around there anymore. It's all using more modern encryption. This at most can use 128-bit encryption, so the 13-character password, while my Wi-Fi is the more modern, you can put in whatever password you want. So this card sees everything, but it can't fully connect, which is a shame. Anywho, back to the laptop itself. We have just an old background here, probably one of the defaults. Oops, don't you shut off on me. You'll notice, and this isn't a camera trickery thing, that down here it seems like you can almost see more light than up here. The lighting behind the monitor really is a bit, I don't know if it's just crude or worn out. This isn't the best best screen here. After using it a bit, it does tend to warm up and get a little better, but yes, it's not the greatest. But I'm going to take my mic off. I'm going to show you something. Once again, I was saying don't judge my dad too hardly. Okay, we have the volume control up because this laptop was being used for children. Okay, so he made a few changes to the sound scheme. Oh. Yes, that's what you heard. That was a fart, and then the sound of satisfaction because of that fart. There you go. Now, when you want to find out what's in a modern computer, you can usually get most of your information by going into My Computer. If you right-click on it, it will show RAM and processor. Well, Windows 98, and I've experienced Windows 98 in different ways, usually is a bit vague. It'll give you the RAM, but as far as the processor, you'll get something goofy like this, genuine Intel Pentium processor. On my Windows 98 gaming machine, I could have swore for a brief period it said it had an Athlon XP and listed the model number, and then later on it sort of lost, didn't know what it was anymore. This laptop suffers the same issue, so we need to figure out what CPU is in this thing. So if you want to figure out what CPU is in the computer without cracking it open, you probably, and let's say Windows isn't telling you what it is, you'd probably get some program like CPU-Z or whatnot, and it'll spit out a lot of information, tell you what's going on. Well, my dad must have found a utility from way back in the day that does the same thing. And it's a utility that I haven't been able to find again. So put this one on your list of things to maybe try to find. It may not exist anymore. So I'm going to have to try to preserve it. If you go in control, and it installs itself into the control panel. So you go Start, Settings, Control Panel, wherever, and you'll see it down here. What CPU is? Describe your CPU and features. So we're going to double click on that. See what we're running. Oh, and you see by Moops.
Who invaded Spain in the 8th century?
That's a joke. The Moors.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, it's the Moops. The correct answer is the Moops.
All right, and it tells us we have a Pentium running at 235, so probably 233 megahertz. and it also has MMX. So that gives us some idea. We have it's the family 558. It's a 581 for stepping. Doesn't have physical address extension. Doesn't have on-chip hardware or system call. Has 36-bit page size extension, MMX. So I'm not super familiar with Intel CPUs. But it looks like this is I don't want to say it's a Pentium MMX because I think that was a desktop chip. But it might be some mobile MMX or whatnot. If you know better, and I might insert it into the video here, that'd be great to know the specific details. And here's the information on what CPU is. This was originally produced in 1999, and there's a likely outdated email for contacting. So we have 128 megabytes of RAM. We have a 233 megahertz Pentium MMX sort of thing. And here we have my computer opened up, which, you know, this doesn't look like how it usually looks on my other 98 machine. My dad might have changed it. Perhaps this is more the 95 look. Or maybe this is an upgrade from Windows 95. Its total size for the hard drive is actually about 3 gigs. And it's got over half of that remaining. I think this might be an upgrade from 95, though my dad tended to not do that sort of thing, because we have a little recovery system, a Windows 95 based recovery system, emergency recovery utility. Now potentially this works for Windows 98 just fine, and that's why he put it back on. Yeah, Windows 95 emergency recovery. Well, that's fun. Not going to do that. Now, one other thing to note is when you turn up the hardware volume, it's the little knob on the side, that's actually more of a feedback loop with the microphone. The microphone appears to always be ready and willing. So if this is connected to the internet, of course, the NSA are certainly spying on you. So that's fun to know. This machine does, of course, have games. And there are a few little ones here. So we have a few simple ones. Dots, Blocks, Hangman, Yahtzee, which I think we played as a family a few times. Doom, Doom 2, and Heretic. Blocks was a favorite of my sister. It's really just a memory matching game. So flip a block, hope they don't match. So pick another one. Okay, that's not that one. Oh. And they go away. So that's that. This is Dots, and I can't actually remember how it plays. I think we draw connections, and I don't remember what the goal is. Oh yes, once you complete a square, it makes an X. So you're trying to beat the computer here. So we're waiting for him, and he made a mistake. So there we go. I gotta go again. So sort of a little, just a kid's game, nothing too complicated. But now we want to play a man's game. Doom 2. It's gonna load into DOS there. So clearly we're getting sound. We're not getting music though. And I've checked in the options to try to change that, and that doesn't quite work. Okay, I'm really awful. Oh, there's a lot of guys in this version. Wait, that guy shot that other guy. You know, I have no idea who's on what side or whatnot. Anyway, we're getting sound. Everything else is working. There's no music, and that might be just because this is not being run in DOS proper. Maybe I'll try booting into DOS mode. Alright, we're going to restart in MS-DOS mode and see if we get more sound. Oh, you also notice the computer coughs when it restarts. And Doom 2 is probably the name of the executable. I wonder if we'll get some more sound there. Okay, so Doom is started up, and there's no music as well, unless there's just no music in this part of Doom 2. So it could be a sound driver issue. It could be it doesn't like the built-in sound, because maybe it's, rather than being an ISA based, it's PCI based. Not sure. But the game runs. It runs really well on this processor. So I can't really complain. Alright. So now I've restarted and gone into the BIOS. The BIOS version 300,000 for the Versa 6220, 6230. So we got a few options: standard CMOS, advanced, power management, boot device, peripheral setup, passwords, auto configuration. Let's look at the standard. So we have the date, which is date and time, which seems it's off by a couple hours. This thing hasn't been powered on since 2008, and the date is correct. The time is off by just a couple hours. A couple hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, that's not too bad. It has a diskette drive A, though the one isn't connected. And internal hard drive is turned to on. And let's see, everything is just kind of on auto, which is fine. Oh, has the detailed information size cylinder head of the hard drive. And so that's that section. Not a whole lot going on there. Maybe advanced will give us something useful. Plug and play Aware OS. This is one of those goofy settings that were around for a while. Whether if you had a plug and play operating system, you could say yes, and so I believe it means I believe it means that the operating system would then control hardware interrupts and assigning those sorts of things, as opposed to the BIOS doing it. So even though Windows 98 is plug and play, you can leave it still have it at no, and everything works fine. In fact, I usually leave it to no. Some people, I think, recommended leaving it to no as well. Boot up USB configuration. Do not. What Windows 98 does. This is Windows 98 Second Edition, so it does handle USB. So you guys could have this. I'll change that to on. Let's see. Page up. There we go. Numlock auto. I'm going to have that on. I like numlock. Though, nope, I'll do auto because this doesn't have an actual number pad. LCD panel view expansion is on, so normally this would be smaller because it's a lower resolution. Password, sure. PS2 port hot swap. Hey, why not? And internal mouse, the pad enabled. Okay, that's fine. Power management. ACPI aware operating system. Power management under AC. So we'll leave whatever it is. Let's change high performance custom off. Longest life custom. So my dad might have made one. I'll do off, so it just never turns anything off. That's fun. So suspending. Now we'll do suspending auto-save file. Now panel backlight full. Let's see what happens when I. No, it doesn't change in live, so we'll do full because we want it nice and bright. Spin warning tone, sure. Motor ring resume. No. Okay. Oh, I also forgot. This BIOS allows you to change the color scheme, which is kind of cool. So this These I view as kind of the standard colors. So we got this, monochrome black and white, and then the blue. I remember BIOS as being blue for a long time. This video has already gone long, hasn't it? Boot device setup, CD-ROM, IDE. There's nothing else. So disabled. Try other boot devices. Sure. I wonder if this can boot to USB. Probably not. And peripheral setup. Hello port. Sound. So IRQ, and then DMA settings. All right, folks, I think we solved it. And it wasn't the IRQ. It wasn't the channels or anything. It is 220 and 5 is fine. I don't know what I was thinking. I went to setup, and the game was set up with music off. Potentially my dad didn't care for it or whatnot. So now I'm going to fire up Doom 2, and we should hear sound going. So we have music. I did forget one thing. My XP machine has a Wi-Fi antenna, and it can broadcast Wi-Fi. And for some reason, whenever you try to do too much with the internet settings, because it's also functioning with its 2 Ethernet ports as a bridge to my Windows 98 machine, it loses its encryption. And if there's no encryption, this guy should be able to see it. So let's see if we can get that going. So the computer is off. These slots are hot swappable, but I think Windows 98 would probably rather you shut down. So you simply slide it into one of the slots. We're gonna do the lower one, and we're in. Not much of a click or anything, and then you have the eject button if you want to push it back out. So we're going to fire the machine up and see if we can detect any Wi-Fi. All right, this is some exciting stuff. I don't know if you can tell how actually excited I am by this, just because I finally got it to work, but I am. So this is the Linksys program. Okay, my dad always liked Linksys. He found their software simple, easy to use, their products reliable. He's a Linksys fan. I've used a lot of D-Link stuff just because it tends to be cheap and it's worked well. But anywho, this is it. So we have the site survey. Now it says that this particular Wi-Fi that we're connected to, IMS Grand Mark 1 AP. It says as 0 signal, and even the indicator light on the little card is at 0 for some reason. Doesn't make sense to me, but it's working, so that's fine by me. So we'll close that. So what version of Internet Explorer are we using? This laptop was, of course, fully up to date by the time it was, well, I don't know, retired. It kept living long past Windows 98's expiration date. So it's running probably the last version of Internet Explorer 6 for Windows 98. I'm sure my dad got full updates. If you didn't know, Internet Explorer was built off of Mosaic, the Mosaic browser. I'm not sure I don't think there's a flavor of Mosaic floating around anymore, other than as much as it remains in Internet Explorer. Now, for those of you who don't like Internet Explorer, I think you have various reasons, probably good arguments. I will just say that personally, I grew up using Internet Explorer, and I used it exclusively up until college when I was running XP, and Explorer 8 started to become out of date, so things stopped working as well. YouTube got funny, websites would get funny, Facebook would just guzzle the RAM, and it wouldn't run very well. When before it had. Since then I moved to Firefox because I needed something for XP, and since then I've pretty well exclusively used Firefox. Internet Explorer 11 we use at work just because of the way work is set up. I haven't had problems with Internet Explorer, and I kind of like its layout better, especially these older versions. But that's just my flavor on it. You can burn me as a heretic if you want. So here we are actually on MSN.com. And we're using Internet Explorer 6. MSN is actually a very favorable site for older browsers. It just usually works. Its format is kind of goofy, though. It doesn't seem to display well. But it allows you to connect Google, throws a fit with IE6. They finally shut off connectivity, which is a shame. If we do a Bing search, it works. So we have, you know, a search result here, and we can go to Nathan's Toasty Tech. I know this site because of Draga, Draga1. He's a YouTube guy that if you're watching my videos, you've probably seen him first. And it's designed, this website is designed just with older standards. Also, he hates Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is evil. Yeah, he's not a fan of it, for one reason or another. And I think he makes some good points. So, Internet, does it work? Yes. You just have to use either old encryption or no encryption to make this old Wi-Fi adapter work. A later PC card slot Wi-Fi adapter, as long as it has Windows 98 drivers, would be fine. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're disappointed that I didn't crack into this thing, I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't feel like cracking into a machine, especially when it's something like a laptop and I don't plan on upgrading it. And this has a piece of sort of family history to an extent, so I really don't want to damage it. There are a bunch of files on here for my sister's grade school projects. I found some pictures of her when she was in dance, just a little girl. I found a few audio recordings where she was just playing around with it, and actually the whole family was around. You hear our voices in the background or whatnot. It's a little piece of history, and I saved those files, so don't yell at me for leaving them on this ancient hard drive. So I've done that. CD drive works. I know there are external floppy drives buried away somewhere that my dad has. So if you had the docking station at one point, I'm sure that's probably gone. But it's an interesting machine. Not a whole lot of information on it. I can't really find the drivers anymore on NEC's website. I can't even find the driver for this first revision card, Wi-Fi card. I found later versions, not the first version though. Would be a great portable DOS gamer if it had a battery. If you folks, once again, look back to the scenes with the battery model number, if you find one of those for cheap, get a hold of me. I will definitely try to swoop in and buy it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The keyboard on this thing is decent. Nothing to complain about. It's a neat machine. So if you want to see more of this, and usually my more in-depth cracking open type videos, subscribe, like the video, that sort of thing. And join the Retro Machines on Facebook. There's a whole bunch of us that do this sort of thing. Some of us make videos, others just play around. I hope to see you there. And with that, I'll leave you be and allow me to play you out. Oh. Oh.
Return the slab.